Okay, thank you very much. All teams have come back on time. Just on time to report to the City Council of our fictitious city. And well, the City Council really would like to hear the results, you know, of each team, of each A team. So I really would like to invite the first A team to come up and to produce their experiences, their conclusions, and their advice to the City Council. Who's the first A team? Volunteers? Yeah?
Because I'm nearer the front, and it is the plan of it. Yeah, not that they'll be able to read it probably, but that way. The way around. So, I suppose the best way of feeding back on this is to describe what we came up with and then give you the examples in the toolbox where you can kind of help. We kind of did it from looking for solutions and then looking looking at what the issues are and then looking if the subsurface could give us some solutions. So when you look at the area as it is, Raghu informed us there was no archaeology at all, but there is a little bit over here. And there probably is quite a bit of post-war archaeology if you want to go into modern terms. And apparently there's really ancient stuff if you go back more than 500 years before it was all forest. So if you were doing it under the European Convention, you would do a kind of scan to see if there was any archaeology there. And if you wanted to do that, you'd go and look at examples from Bergen or somewhere else that has done those scans. But one of the reasons why we might be doing that is there is a huge power cable stuff running through here, which is acting like a barrier. So there is an opportunity because you have the canal and you have an old railway, which we were kind of suggesting that you should extend into the housing, to take that power cable underground. Because that then frees up a whole load of space for you, and the geologists were telling me that there is an opportunity to put that underground, that the ground conditions are okay to do that. It might be expensive, but apparently the politicians will like that because it will employ lots of people in the local economy and help the local economy go. So that would be a good one to get the politicians on board, which probably takes you to the resilience stuff and giving the politicians what they want. So if you were looking at examples for resilient cities and went into the toolbox, you would get Rotterdam and Glasgow and Lisbon, and Belfast was in the last tranche, although we probably don't have information about them. We then looked at some of the other major hazards. So you've got some geochemistry stuff going on with the landfill and with the old vacant derelict lands, and there's examples of geochemistry stuff in the Workgroup 2 feedback reports in the toolbox. But what we were thinking of was if you take the landfill and you use above ground remediation, which would be so you need to cap it. The way to cap it is with the soils that you are digging out to put the cables underground. So the soil you don't need because you've got the cable run or the tunnel for the cables. You use to cap this, and then you can plant trees on it, which will start to remediate. You only need 10 mil of soil for the tree roots to go. That will allow you to remediate that soil while you're capturing the methane, which you are then feeding into the power systems of the houses nearby. We're going to supplement that with a solar farm, but we're also going to retrofit SUD, so sustainable urban drainage, so looking at the slowing down the flow of the water and separating the water from the sewage system. That will allow us to remediate the degraded landscape here, but it will also, apparently there is room in the water table to hold some of that water. What else have we kind of done? We quite like the idea of keeping the agriculture there, but what it does if you get rid of the cables is give you a green corridor which could become a transport hub as well. So from Raghu's point of view, another tunnel for a new metro, or a cycle route if you want the cycle route to go through there to take the bicycle theme. What we were also talking about was, because it's heat island, if you can capture some of that heat or also slow it down. So street trees and rain gardens, which is above ground stuff. So there is a bit of a gap about getting some more information in the toolbox about how some of the above ground solutions can help with the below ground. So if you need to take the water out of the system, you can take some of it out above ground. So we suggested you look at Melbourne's Rain Gardens website, because that's community action and communities can do it. We have high density housing over in this area. We also have sewage system runs in this area, so can you take the geothermal heat out of the sewage system? So there's information about geothermal in the toolbox. And I think the last kind of thing that we were looking at was, we kind of looked at the information you could get in the area. So we were saying that this is your blue gateway to Bucharest, because apparently this is one of the main routes in. So you could do park and ride either a little bit below ground, some above ground, again the ground conditions could take it, but you could connect to your new transport corridor, because the cables are all underneath, which could have a new metro or it could have a tram. And it's got your utility door, as Han was calling it, which is where you're putting your utilities and your infrastructure. But the toolbox help would be, Bucharest itself has already got groundwater filtration recharge mapping that might help. If you want to involve the community, go and have a look at the Dublin Partick charrettes, or the other charrettes that have happened in Glasgow, where you'll probably end up with a map like this eventually. Valves, geothermal, heats, information. It might be quite a good area for an underground master plan, so that you know what's actually in the ground, so that you can plan, so you know where all the cables and pipes and sewage pipes, etc. are. We kind of recommend that you have a strategic plan, so the politicians might not like it, but there are examples of good strategic development plans in some of the other places, and you can get information on that on Workgroup 1, City Reports. Linking into 100 RC, you're risk aware rather than risk averse. Layer-based modelling, so there's the page on what models you might need. Geochemistry, and if you are looking at individual sites, look at the geosim stuff from Carl and I'm mispronouncing the name, I think I'll shut up at that point.
Okay, thank you very much. So any comments from the City Council?
I'll stay up. Sorry.
Any comments from the City Council? Yeah.
There's a lot of, like you just showed us, a lot of potential in this area. What would you do first? We have a very limited budget at the moment, so if you say we can, do a small action, what would you recommend that we do?
If you want to spend to save, it's get all the cables underground, because you'll put money back into the economy. If you really can't spend to save, then the cheaper option are doing...
Yeah, but that doesn't really go into our little area economy, right? It goes into the wider Bucharest economy, but our funding is local.
Your funding is local, then in that case you work with your communities and you get them to do something along the lines of slowing the water down for you and using that water they're slowing down to help in the areas that you want to improve the environment, which will make them feel good about you as a politician, because they'll have nice places to sit and feel healthier. And if they can sit out in the sunshine and get some vitamin D and feel good about themselves, they'll feel good about you as a politician. Thank you.
Okay.
Until I work in Glasgow.
Shall we move to the next team? Are you the next
we don't have a
team?
big map.
Don't we miss something? But we can show it on the map.
Sure.
Don't we miss something?
This one?
Yes, probably.
Somebody.
One of the teams?
Yeah, just like any big map.
No, I don't think so.
They are disappeared. One team disappeared. It's X team.
So we didn't draw anything on one of the big maps, but so this is just to show. So we weren't quite as ambitious. And we looked at the whole area mostly from the water perspective. We also had the discussion about undergrounding the cables, but we came to the conclusion that this is not our priority at the moment. It is something to maybe look at in the further future if we. But so this is the sewage system, and the sewage system has probably the problem it has all over in Bucharest, that it's probably draining the aquifer. So in this area we have a problem with, Mala can explain better than I can.
No, maybe there is a marshland there.
Yeah, wetland.
And wetland. And if we want to that preserve ecosystem, we don't need losing water here to drain,
No.
to.
Yes.
And therefore, we would like to repair that sewage here. However, it can happen that the water level will come up. And therefore, for sure, we decided to, in this area where is there are agriculture use of area, to build closed loop borehole heat exchangers for heating, say greenhouses or something, and use the water, because if there will be recovery of groundwater, we can pump water for irrigation, and as there is a groundwater flow this way, it probably could, we don't know about a channel, about what is, whether it's natural channel and what is the resistance of the channel.
Natural channel.
Yeah, so we do get a lot of closed loop, we get ground source heat pump, we get information in the toolbox, and irrigation, and also the interaction between groundwater and groundwater sewage in, I can't find it here, but somewhere we have it. But we do find that information in the toolbox, so there's like will be helpful information for that. For the whole area over here, then we said, okay, we do have, so basically we have a hill coming up here, so all this area here is uphill compared to this one. So we said, okay, in this area we do have the potential for developing a denser area, for densifying especially this area here, because we do have all the infrastructure in that area. So this area is basically served by infrastructure, but not very, very strongly developed. But in this area here, we thought we can maybe have a kind of cyclopath on the top of the hill, like so you can look down. And for this area here, we thought the potential we see is maybe we could renaturalize the canal to have a bit more vivid ecosystem, or to create a bit more vivid ecosystem in this area, because it's quite a steep hill, so there's not a big risk for people if we do that, and we might have a more natural environment especially on this side, but also probably provided on the other side just by the cables there. And then we also thought about transport, and we thought maybe we can unlock.
Maybe we could add that we have a lot of uncertainties about groundwater level here. We have uncertainties about landfill and soil pollution, and therefore we propose here exploration before the final decision will be accepted for this.
Yeah, and in particular, we would need a lot more information about the landfill, about the quality of the landfill, what is in there. Can we use it? Maybe we can use it for gas production. So maybe we can use it, but maybe it's a risk. So we have to know this before we can develop this area. But then we thought there might be a potential to unlock the blue waterway for transport, to actually say why do we need road transport? Maybe we can have a transport on the river into the city. There's loads more we said, but I can't remember right now.
May I add about this landfill? Okay, we have this lake very near to the landfill, and according to the directive, the European directive, we have to make to have a protection zone of this water source. So we have to stop using it, and yes, we have to investigate about the landfill, and most probably we have to remove it, so we don't pollute underground water.
Maybe we forgot to say that
we had a lot of discussion.
No, we forgot to say that as to the tools, we plan to build a 3D hydrogeological model, for sure, maybe for optimization of ground source heat pumps, also heat transport model. We found that closed loop heat pumps represent a gap in our toolbox, because we found there only open loop heat pumps.
Yeah, or general information.
We have also some other links to the report.
Yeah, we have a few links to the report, like urban agriculture and or the general groundwater, ground source heat pump and report.
It was a landfill contamination monitoring from Nantes, city of Nantes report.
Yes, yes. We're getting there. Yeah, so, and for modeling, obviously, we have a lot of examples.
Did you say about the cables? We want to put them underground?
No, I did talk about that, but we decided to at the moment not to. Well,
We had a
anyway,
lot of
we had that discussion.
But
That's it. I think the core of what we want to do is we would want to focus on this area at the moment to say we repair a sewer here to preserve the ecosystem around the lake, and then pump the groundwater to irrigate this area here, and have groundsource heat pump in this area to also maybe not only have surface agriculture but also like heat greenhouses. I think this would be our first action, and this would be the area of investigation. And in the build-up area, we would probably investigate a bit of potentials of recharging the aquifer more in this area, but we would need depth of foundations to do that. And potentially on the top of the hill, create a enjoyable walk or cycleway.
thank you. The city council would like their own department of subsurface information to
Yeah, but the
supply
idea,
some comment.
the idea with your bicycle lane, actually it's very, very good, because above that, on the same terrace, there is a park in the western part a little that has the same thing. Bicycle lane that it's going on the top of the terrace, and you can see the indoor. So without you to know that, it's already there, and I think it's a very good idea in that
You can
sense.
use mountain bikes as well.
Actually, Bucharest
Going
in
down.
the 20s was a mountain resort, a ski resort, for that reason. That
For this
for this steep level, there was a ski slope.
Okay.
And, yeah, and I have 2 or 3 pictures if you want to show you.
And how would you like to promote this city, in this part of the world, as the green city, or the sustainable city, or resilient city, or?
This part of the city, because it's not the whole city, it's going to be a green and sustainable. Yeah, because it has water. We have these power cables. You can use some energy. Yeah.
But that
And
should
you
become
can use
part
the-
of the
Yeah,
strategy of the
I
whole
think
city.
it is
Yes.
probably going more to the sustainable city part, but also because we want to regenerate or like re-naturalize this area of the green of the park. We want to, because I think the focus is on sustainable production, sustainable agriculture, and sustainable green.
Did you find any cities in Europe that are comparable to this city from that point of view?
Yes, we have, but
Yes,
Mario.
we find that Rotterdam has this so-called urban agriculture, am I right? It's so-called, special type of, not special type of kind of agriculture, which is that people are planting, as it is said in text, I'm not sure how does it work. They are planting the, I don't know, vegetables, fruits, which is especially for some restaurants. I mean, just strict for some restaurants.
We have actually our consultant from Rotterdam. He is in at the moment, who is specialized in that urban agriculture. Kees, any comments on the?
I think Vlad even knows better.
Okay.
And he did a study, agricultural study in Rotterdam.
Yeah, well, actually, Rotterdam is more or less the urban agricultural capital of Europe. So we have close to 130, if I'm not mistaken, small initiatives of community gardens that were created in green spaces around residential areas. In the town, we also have a really nice rooftop farm where me and also Case have been volunteering. We also have a quite large, I think it's about 1.5 hectares. It's the largest urban farm in the Netherlands, I think. And they also started this aquaponics system where they grow fish. It's quite interesting. And they use solar panels to heat the water. It's actually really
So we think there's a lot of potential there, and we would have obviously to involve the citizens to develop that idea.
Okay. Any other city council member? Yeah?
No, another close examples perhaps are the Mediterranean Spanish city. Valencia is close of this in relation with the Huerta and the Albufera, the small lake close to the city, and with the green areas, and perhaps in Portugal, Aveiro or the other cities with the river and the lakes are the similar context. Perhaps it's a good model to the Mediterranean cities in the south.
Thank you. Yeah, you had some comment?
I was wondering, do you think you will be able to abstract groundwater for irrigation and preserve the recreational wetland?
Yeah, because so the argument is like obviously it needs a bit of investigation, but it is that at the moment this lake is probably losing water into the sewage system, which is leaking. So the moment we repair the sewage system, the groundwater will come up, and we will then pump this water to irrigate it, to basically bring it away from the built-up part, and to basically bridge that built-up part so it's not in there.
Moreover, we are quite close to the river, so we could potentially induce some recharge from the river. But it must be okay for it. We don't have enough data, as usually geologists do not have.
We can add that the area to the upper part is facing the south, so it has a good location for this occasion.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next team, 13.
Well, that is more important.
We don't have time to go. So we did first an analysis of the situation of the city to identify the zones where we could construct buildings, to densify we have population to welcome, so we have to find zones to put new buildings on. And so with the analysis of the situation, we put all the constraints together, and so we have some zones, nice zones, good zones in the south of the district here. So we're going now to focus more particularly on this zone. So, as you know, we want to build a sustainable and resilient city. So we need to take into account all the questions from all the thematics, so which we did partly here. And so we focus more particularly on groundwater, which represents a great opportunity for the city. The groundwater is a great opportunity, but still we have to protect it. For instance, as a resource for drinking water. So among the opportunities, we identified geothermal energy. Unfortunately, we lack knowledge to put it into practice at the moment. So we have to deepen the knowledge in this area before being able to put it into practice. We also thought of circular economy for this area, and still regarding water, we think we could implement innovative technical solutions to become an exemplary city. So, for instance, we could recover the rainwater from the roofs to build cropping systems on the roofs. So, develop the agriculture, urban agriculture. We could also use this water for gardens at the bottom of the blocks. And we also could
so to maintain the recharge of the groundwater, develop infiltration systems for the water to go back to the groundwater. So that's some two main points at the moment that we identified, and we would be happy to develop. And so this would help us become an exemplary system in sustainability as regards groundwater. So with this we can use examples from existing examples in other cities. So in the toolbox we have we found some cities like Glasgow, Ljubljana, Bucharest, and I don't remember, Vienna, who did have some good practices of groundwater modeling, but also Basel for geothermal groundwater knowledge development. And we could also make links with another cost action, which is the cost action on urban development gardens and which deals with urban agriculture, for instance. And so so becoming an exemplary city would be very good for the image of the city, and would reinforce our position in the international networks, and also help us benefit more from the experience of other cities.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the subsurface department? No?
For now.
Okay, thank you.
Very good solution. Okay.
Hello, we're from the planning team Tabula Rasa. We're just sent into an empty hall to do things. We first used 20 minutes to plan the hall and to make our work possible. And then it's funny to see that many subsurface specialists became suddenly planners when they see an empty map. And what we did, then we finally thought, okay, what is our task? And the first task was to look with the perspective of the subsurface specialist to an area, identifying the risks and the opportunities. Well, starting with the risks, we first thought of, okay, it's an area where we have some water systems, and there's an area where we perhaps can expect flooding. Of course, we have very few information, so it's just from the information that we had, we said, okay, there's a certain area where we could have flooding. Then we identified other areas that could be very well, from the subsurface perspective, be valid for urban development and redevelopment, which are the southern, eastern area and the northern area identified from our short analysis. But there are some risks on the edges of the slopes, where the idea was that, well, of course, if you have slopes that connecting to water and sliding, you could have some problems. So steep slopes could be problems, and they are on the edges of the lush plateaus. Of course, very important feature is the canal. Interesting was that it looks like a canal, but it also should be a river because of the topography, but probably it's a river which is canalized in a very straight way, which is quite interesting. There was a big question, is this a seismic area? We understood from earlier presentations, yes, but we don't have too much information, but of course it's something we need to take into account in our planning. So then the opportunities, yes. So what we thought was the opportunities for the area, not taking into account at all what is around it, which is of course very important, but for the structure of all the things. But let's say we just have a look at this area. Let's say this middle part with the canal, the river, could be a very good area for multi-purpose green-blue belt development, which is quite a high-level terminology for an area where you combine your water management together with leisure facilities together with, because there's also these big old transport infrastructure which is there, to combine it in some way that you have leisure and natural development, etc. And then there's the advantage of this lake area that is developing into a kind of natural reserve, which is providing fresh water to that system in some way, and you should organize it in your planning. And especially this southern area could be, it's more higher, it's more stable, a very good area for urban development, and maybe on the edges of the slopes in a more intense way. And then in between we have this area where we saw that in the past, no, still, we Googled it, there are greenhouses connected to the item of urban farming. That could be a zone of urban farming, and of course you should connect it to also this green blue belt using the water, fresh water from that areas. But also you have to take care, if you have a very strong urban frontier next to an open area, you have to take care of all your drainage water. So you need in your water system to take care of all the water from this urban area. And somehow you have to make a combination between this urban farming, the natural fresh leisure blue area, and the water. I was told that this urban farming could also be a kind of wine area. Yes, yes. In the north, well, it came just at the very last of our planning session. Now it's more or less an industrial area. You can imagine that you also redevelop that. The people live here, probably work here, and then you need some strong connection between this area and that area. That could be, because we are subsurface people, a tunnel under this nice area for intensive transport, not disturbing the leisure. So far for planning without any, just people on the map, and then we started planning, and then you get ideas like this. Then the next question, of course, was if we look at what is in fact the planning framework for Bucharest. From the presentations yesterday and from the questions we asked and from the toolbox, we have to think planning, there needs to be an agenda also from planning. More or less what we did was making a planning agenda for the tabula rasa from the subsurface, some ideas, risks and opportunities. But what is the idea for this area from the Council of Bucharest? Planning agenda can originate from, let's say, three big sources. An agenda can originate from, let's say, regular planning tasks that the Council has. We don't have much information about it for Bucharest, but planning tasks can also come from policy frameworks. And then we have something nice, that this resilience network and ambition, which is more or less global, and there are cities in the global network who say resilient city development is very important from the global and European agendas. So from policy you can say, okay, this area should be a resilient area. Of course you have to fill out what means resilient exactly, but then we say, okay, there's a third origin for putting an agenda for an area that is from the subsurface. Well, that is what we did. So with this combination, we made a resilient subsurface agenda for this area. And this also connects to how do you sell this, for example, to a council. Well, the first question is, we understand that what we understood from the workshop and the presentation that we had about Bucharest, that a lot of urban planners, a lot of experts on geography, etc., are in a network, and somehow they came together. We don't know exactly what is the framework for that, but they came together and have an area where they make, where they try to develop a good plan. But what is the connection to the political level or to the administrative level? Somehow that should connect, and you should. How is this network connected to this the city council, etc.? So we need to have a good story from this network, and this network could say, okay, we are also connected to the suburban and to the resilient city global network. We have good plans, we have professors, and we have thought very well about this with the newest and best technologies and methodologies, etc. So we have a good agenda for this area. Then that is more or less what we call in the toolbox structure the crank issues. And the crank issues means, okay, we have knowledge from the subsurface, we have knowledge from the city and county planning. How do we develop this into communication and processes to convince the political level of starting something nice for this area? What we also identified is that for some very special some specific issues, like for example geothermal, it was a question. What is the potential of this area for geothermal? I think the shallow geothermal energy. And what are methodologies, how you can identify it for an area like this, and do we have examples of other cities who have worked on this with not too much data about the subsurface here? Because of course we had some information, but even the specialists couldn't say, okay, there's an area which is or not very satisfying for developing such thing. Another one is that we identified and heard from the presentations yesterday also that Bucharest has a lack of information in general for developing a planning area, if I'm right. But we have a lot of information on maps, but the data and databases that you can use from the city council or whatever, you have a lack of data, as I understand. Everywhere. Then, well, what Rico said, it was that it's maybe not a lack of data, but a lack of accessibility to the data. And then we have a lot of cases in our toolbox of cities who try to also work with this. It's not really the problem that there are no data, because there is a city, there is Bucharest, there's a lot of developments have been there, so there must be data somewhere. But how to deal with the situation that you cannot find the necessary data. Okay, then finally, we did some agenda to the city council. Finally, I give you the words because we made a connection to the planning scheme of France.
We try to follow.
And we try to follow that.
The Francia scheme, and to map our thoughts for the toolbox. So we consider that this template can be very useful to address certain issues like ecology or geothermal energy, to be given plus or minus is a driving factor or the city has a problem with this, address the right chapter or subgroup report, and then it's something like that we can address the issues and simplify the use of toolbox. For example, for the general public there are different for the people there are different issues are more important than, for example, for people dealing with buildings and infrastructure construction. So this might be very useful to go through this template and to structurize this brainstorm we did on the first part of our activities. However, it was quite short time, so I won't dig the details, but it was very useful for us.
A very final issue that we also identified was that I think another group also said the same, that we have to search for cities which are more or less in a similar position like Bucharest. Not only from the perspective of geography, I think there are some similarities, but Bucharest is a special city if you look at the planning regime, which is, well, I call it extremely liberal. There are almost no rules, if I translate. And secondly, under economic stress. which is different in this part of Europe. And I think it could be important to have more cities and examples for Bucharest. And as I understood from one who looked very deep into the from Case, he put up the example of New Delhi in India, where are some similar mechanisms that could be of use for also Bucharest to team up. But we need also other examples in Europe, please. Okay.
Maybe one last word, that we found also that there is an administrative border on this area.
Yes.
And there is a city unit and a rural unit, and some solutions for collaborative communities and for cooperation to form a hub that are also mentioned in Toolbox should be addressed. That this might be stopping the development as the together cooperation must be developed.
Very good.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments? Dragos, final comment?
I'm not the mayor of the city.
You are the Subsurface department here. The urban planning department has already left.
No further questions? Okay.
Okay, everybody, all the teams, thank you very much for your contribution this afternoon. Just maybe a final word to round up, the value of the toolbox. You have used the toolbox. Any comments so far? Positive, negative, please tell them now. Han?
Yeah.
When I came in your room, you said there should be a search function in the toolbox.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's there are various ways of using the toolbox. I found that you could actually click through if you wanted to address certain aspects, so that makes it like more or less a checklist thing, and you can go through the whole bicycle if you like, and then take a ride. So certain topics come up during the discussion, and I can foresee that certain expertise is lacking in certain areas, and you just want to search on infiltration, or you just want to search on whatever comes up, and I think that would be a valuable add-on to the toolbox as well.
Okay.
To use it in that way. And also some of your links are not working.
What?
and I hate to say this, but the one that's actually on the poster, which is www.suburban.eu, that one doesn't work either. So the best way to get there is to go to the cost website and then go to the Foursquare.
Enough on.
Yeah. Anything else?
Loretta?
Yeah, I just maybe forward-looking and regarding like how media is used today. I would think a discussion page, or like somewhere where you can post your questions, or like a forum might be a useful extension.
Okay.
Like where you can say, oh, I couldn't find this, and then somebody sees it and says, oh, I have an answer. This kind of
that was actually part of our memorandum of understanding, that there should be a kind of a forum page as well. Yeah. So, thank you. And then I would like all of you, because we have to close up now. But if you have any comments, on the second page of the toolbox, there's also, if you want to write a letter to the editor, any comments, it's over there. Click it on and it arrives at the editing room. Thank you very much for this whole afternoon. Thank you very much for the hospitality of the City Council as well. Okay, thanks.